Yes, so we are live. Welcome everyone to the book launch of Drenched. Such an interesting title. And I have with me Dr. Deeksha Pandey, who is the author of Drenched. Before we talk about Dr. Deeksha and talk all about the book, let me just give a brief introduction about the book. So it's a story of love, desperation, and rejuvenation. An interesting question raised by the book is: are we defined by the choices we make, or are we slaves of destinies? So it's a story of Avantika, someone who loves to dance and is a fabulous dancer. And the same day she wins a dancing competition, she also gets to marry her first love. Life is picture perfect for her, but something happens, and in a moment, everything kind of goes for a toss. And from the zenith of the peak of her life, she's thrown down into darkness. So, what is her story? Will she get back to the zenith of her life, or will she stay in darkness? Drenched addresses a very common issue that is hardly spoken about, but it is very common amongst the women, specifically the women who've had children. And With me, I have Dr. Deeksha, who's a urogynecologist in Manipal. Just to begin with, so this is the first thing that she does. Along with that, she is she runs the urogynecology subdivision in Kasturba Medical College. She has begun a fellowship for the same this year, which is also the only second one in India. She has 7 international fellowships and 74 publications in celebrated journals to her credit. Okay, I must wipe my sweat a little here. She's a founder of one of a kind NGO 3D, which educates youngsters about safe sexual health and practices. It now has units in various cities and has cumulatively conducted over 50 workshops to mentor the new generation on being well informed and being truly safe. She is an abundantly loved professor, and she's also synonymous with being a new force. The newest one being she's entered a field of innovation and entrepreneurship with a bang, because she's come up with a device called as D-Scope, which aims to transform the pelvic examination of women, making it easy and minimally invasive. It has already been patented and it will hit the market soon, Dr. Diksha.
Yeah, probably beginning of next year, 2023.
Amazing. And if this is not enough, she's also somehow found the time to write three, not one, but three fictional books in medical fiction. So it's called medical fiction. The first one was A Midnight Sun. The second one was 3D, and now we have with Readomania Drenched. So each of this book has a deep social message prioritizing women's health as an undertone. And so today we are here to talk about this amazing book published by Readomania. Before we pass it on to Dr. Diksha, just a little bit about Readomania. They are my publishers, so I should talk about them as well. And Readomania is not a new name. It's been there since 2014, curating content specifically for people. It has amazing amount of mix in fiction, non-fiction, child's stories. It's an independent public house, and I think it's been curating content since 2016, where the publishing list was streamlined. It includes literary, mid-list, commercial fictions across multiple genres, short stories, poetry, non-fiction, children fiction. I mean, if you like something, if you love to read something, there is 100% chance that you will find it on Readomania. Along with being a publishing house, it also runs a very extensive online platform, giving chances to new budding authors to share their thoughts, share their articles. It talks about romance, emotions, thrill, travel, humor, drama. You will all find stories that touch your heart. So, as Renomania says, take a break, read something nice, write something beautiful, and buy something literary. So, welcome, Dr. Deeksha. Thank you so much for being with us today. Um, how are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great, and it is so lovely to have you in conversation. And I'm so comfortable. And Ritu, I hope many of you know Rituparna Ghosh. She herself has, she's saying that three is more. She is an author of 7 books. 7. Okay. I don't think in my lifetime also I can catch up with that number. And I'm really amazed and thrilled to read all of those. And one thing which actually excited me a lot, Ritu, is an author and a life coach. So, doing something similar, talking to people, maybe one side we teach about health and disease and we want to make them aware, and maybe we have some kind of overlaps in our understanding and our working thing. Maybe we are just doing something, we are just trying our little bit to create, to change the life of people in a certain way. Maybe it is not too much, but I think if you throw a stone and it creates a ripple, and the ripple spreads around and becomes tsunami someday. So we are at least trying and doing our bit. So I was really happy and humbled when I came to know that you will be conversing with me, and it is really my pleasure today to have some discussion about Drenched, which is so close to my heart with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Deeksha. I mean, it's a humbling experience for me as well. And as you rightly said, in coaching world, we firmly believe that each one coach one. So if we can even make a difference to one person, so it's the act of kindness, right? So you pass it on to somebody, and then hopefully they pass it on to somebody, and that is how the tsunami will get created. So,
Yes.
without much further ado, Dr. Deeksha, let's delve right into Drenched. What an interesting name. So, if you had to define Drenched in one line, what would it be?
Uh, Ritu, it might seem cliche, but this is how I define Drenched. It is a story of the girl next door. That is my definition of it, because the problem is so common, and we have spoken not about just one problem, but so many related, so many. See, it is every girl, I think, if not next door, every alternate house has the same story when we are talking about girls. There is a lot of love, lot of dreams, lot of romance, and then like there are problems they go through pregnancy and the childbirth. We have spoken about many things, and now depression has become so common. We spoke little bit about depression also. And what thing I wanted to make it clear, that sometimes we just treat depression, we don't go into the underlying cause. So it's very, very important that what we understand, what is the root cause of that depression. Every time it is just not related to some wires getting mismatched here and there, getting disconnected and reconnected in mind. It might be having some problem which the girl is not able to share with the world. So we have to get into that area also. So I think all of us go through these struggles, these dreams, this romance sometime in our life. So if you tell me to write, to just say one sentence about, again, I'm saying it's very cliche, the next generation will say that to me, but this is the story of Girl Next Door.
Yeah, we love cliche here. I mean, cliches, I think, make good stories. It's the treatment that's different, but it's all cliches. I mean, it's my firm belief at least. So interesting title though, Drenched, right? Because when you say Drenched is a story of a girl next door, but it's drenched. So, what made you come to this? Is there a story behind the title?
Yeah, Ritu, actually, this title I had thought much before I have started writing this story. So the thing was in my mind much before I started the first word of it. I knew that the title is going to be Drenched. Some people gave me, my friends gave me suggestion, do you want to reconsider the title? I said, no, anything if you want me, I'll change it. But this title is so, so close to my heart. Drenched tells the problem of urinary incontinence, because that's how we define it when it becomes severe. That is about incontinence. More so, I feel that drenched is a very, if used as an adjective, it's a very strong word. Nothing I feel is more powerful and more intense. I can say that I fell in love. That's a gentle way to say it. But when I'm too much at the ecstasy, I say I'm drenched in love. I'm drenched in shame. I don't think any other expression can go beyond this word drenched. It is such a powerful word. And if somebody has to really take emotions to certain level, I think that's the word. Basically, in the book, it is used in the context of urinary incontinence. But I think I have used it many times in many situations where Avantika, as you told, that she's the main character of the book. So, to when peak of emotion she goes through, this is how we feel when we are totally into those intense situations. So the title is actually very dear to me.
So very nice, and it is a very powerful word. You're absolutely right. I mean, drenched is something that, I don't know, reminds me of Mumbai and Mumbai rains. I don't know why, but it just does. And it was like a peak of romance, a peak of I don't know, freshness, happiness, like a peak of happiness. Probably that's the word I'm
Yes,
looking
yes,
for.
yes.
So
And I don't know whether you have been to this part of India or not, Manipal. If not, that next time from UK, if you are coming, please visit here. So in Manipal, there is only one season, that is rainy. Maybe that also doesn't do
So
it.
incidentally, my partner is from Mangalore. So I've not gone to Manipal, but I've been close enough.
Oh,
So
next time you
next
come, please
time,
let me.
definitely, definitely.
One
So
hour.
sure. So tell us about Avantika a little. You mentioned about Avantika and her extreme happiness, emotions, being in love. So tell us about Avantika a little, your protagonist.
First thing I'll tell Ritu that though these are the standard terminology what people use when they talk about a book, protagonist, okay? According to my philosophy, there is no protagonist and there is no antagonist, okay? It depends on the time. Depends on what situation we are. It depends on to whom we are behaving, because I can be a protagonist to half of the world, but I can be a villain to half of the people. That's the situation. So I
Absolutely.
believe in the theory that all of us have little bit of Rama and little bit of Ravana in us, all of us. So I don't say that. So my stories, whenever I write any story, I don't. I use sometimes this word because it is so nice sounding. But actually, if you ask me when we are talking like this, I don't believe in a protagonist or an antagonist. It depends on what circumstances we are pushed in that makes it either Ravana or Rama. That is, we all are same people, little bit of both mix in all of us. So Avantika is a simple girl, as I said. She's a girl next door, as maybe I was in my childhood, maybe you were in our childhood. So the story starts from her childhood. We have a lot of dreams and we have anxieties whether we'll be able to fulfill or not. And then she goes through so many things, she achieves so many things, but again, as you said, something happens. And this character has been inspired by many people. As your first line of introduction says, I work as a urogynecologist. So we see a lot of these problems. It is basically urinary incontinence. And I have, this is one story which I have penned down, but I have hundreds of stories what people tell me. Like one of very close, very elite patient, she told me that she can't go. She started crying. She said, I can't go to a movie because a comedy movie because I cannot laugh there. Once I laugh, I leak. That is such a horrible feeling, she said. And when I operated on her, a week later, she came to me and she was crying again. I said, what happened? Do you have any problem after the surgery? That's our worry. She said that, ma'am, after that, yesterday I went to a comedy movie and I laughed like hell without a stress, without a drop of leak. So that is such, I have so many stories. One of my very uh, initial patient whom I operated, she is a Muslim lady, and you know, namaz is so important for them. She is so religious. She's a estate owner. So she said that I think God is going to punish me because I have not been able to sit in that namaz position because, according to the religion or whatever her beliefs, I leak when I be in that position. So that was such a crippling. That was giving her so much anxiety and so much of negativity. She thought that she's not clean enough to. So we cannot fight with the emotions, with religious beliefs, but these are the problems. So the form I have kept is very mild version what the girl has suffered, though our ambitions, our career is so important to us. But I have even more horrible stories which sometimes we can share, which really disturbs the patient. So all these things, and these are not, people think sometimes that these problems you will get only once you are 60 years old or 70 years old. No, it is not. The girls who are 25 years old, 30 years old, 35 years old, though childbirth is an important factor, but that is not the only factor. And I'm these days seeing girls who are going to gym, very health conscious, going to gym and doing weight related exercises without supporting their pelvic floors. They are coming with these kind of problem with urinary incontinence. So I needed to do something about it. So I did many things. We have created one YouTube channel to spread awareness among the doctors. Even people, they don't know. Sometimes even the doctors are saying that that this is a normal, this is part and parcel of childbirth. And then when two doctors say like that, then patient also feels maybe she's thinking too much, maybe it's her problem. So they are so this was the main story. Is not Avantika's character which I wanted to focus. She's one of the many people like us. The main point of this story is the message which I want to give. So I tried to put it, and this was the most difficult task for me, to combine a topic like urinary incontinence into a love story. Okay, it was really tough job for me to combine all other topics. Till now, whatever I have written had some okay kind of component, but combining urinary incontinence with love and romance was a tough job, I would say. But hope I have been able to do justice with that. It is
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there is no doubt in my head that there was absolute justice done. So I write romantic fiction, right? And I'm a sucker for romantic fiction. I love Drenched. I read Drenched and I love it. And you're so right. I mean, as I was listening to you speak, I realized that this is such a common thing amongst it. I personally have known people in my family, amongst my friend circle, personally faced it myself after having my son, that urinary incontinence is such a common thing, and it hardly gets talked about. It is almost as like, if you give birth to a child, you will have stretch marks, so you'll have urine, and it does make life very difficult, and occasionally, like, all of us struggle with strong emotions, we struggle with stepping out without preparation, and we struggle with a lot of other things. So uh, and I'm sure as a urogynecologist, you would have also faced other topics, other urinary problems or gynecological problems that girls have faced. What made you pick on incontinence as a topic?
so incontinence is one of the very common topic. Okay, very one of the most common. If we take urogynecology, means all disorders related to our pelvic floor. And the pelvic floor actually design, I think by God, some mistake has happened. Okay, when we were four-legged animals, that so many ages ago, so pelvis was not the lowest part. Okay, now the pelvic floor, where bladder, bubble, and uterus is positioned, when we started walking straight, all the pressure of the body goes there. Okay, and in women, men, maybe it is not that important, but pelvic floor is very important during childbirth. So it gets traumatized that time. To certain, you can grade it from 0 to 100 degrees, 100 grading. It can happen minimal problem, it can have more problem. But if you see, also we deal with prolapses, uterine prolapse, cystocele, rectocele, rectal incontinence, and many more things. But I think urinary incontinence is something which is which debilitates women a lot. And this is one of the, if a patient is having prolapse, they are coming to hospital. But this urinary incontinence in young women, there is so much stigma and shame associated with that, that they are not coming. And you would have known, I have mentioned, which if I ask my students also, many people don't give this answer. But there is a problem called coital incontinence, okay, which is when I was not asking my patients for also not telling me, but now we ask them. So many women are suffering with that coital incontinence who are having urinary incontinence. The incidence is huge. If you take group of, so what I say that every third woman in our society or at a global level also is having some kind of urinary incontinence. And if you take that group of urinary incontinence, in that around 60 to 65% are having coital incontinence. Now that is such an important cause of matrimonial problems, and it is so much shame when people in our society are so not open about talking about their sex life and talking about intimate relationship. Do you think they will come up with that? So I think that was something, and it is the problem of those people who are even younger than other pelvic floor disorder and much more common, maybe the most common among all pelvic floor disorders. Though I want to write about all pelvic floor disorders, but I thought let me talk about this first.
And Dr. Deeksha, if you don't mind, for our listeners today, if you could just quickly tell them what is urinary incontinence and what is coital incontinence. Because, like you said, even though it is a common problem, people don't even know that there is actually a terminology for it.
Yes.
So,
Yes, so urinary incontinence basically is usually your bladder should be under your control. When I want, I can control my bladder. When I have to go, I go and empty my bladder. That is the normal thing which should happen. Now, urinary incontinence means bladder doesn't listen to you. Okay, so sometimes when you don't want it to empty, it just dribbles, it just leaks urine. That is urinary incontinence. Now, urinary incontinence can be of many types. There are two important types of, and it can be mixed, also mixed variety, but two important urinary incontinence we talk about. One is urgency. Urgency means if you're watching your favorite television serial and you feel that urge to void, but you cannot wait till the break, commercial break, and you have to rush to pass urine, otherwise you might leak if you wait. That is called urge incontinence. Some people will have urge incontinence, they will leak. Some people will have urgency, that means strong desire that they cannot wait. So that is urge incontinence. The other is stress incontinence. Stress means whenever I'm increasing my intra-abdominal pressure, when I cough, when I laugh, when I jump, when I do my gym related exercises, anything, when I lift some weight, I leak without me knowing. I get drenched in that liquid. So these are the two major kind. There can be mix and match of these two in different quantity. The thing is, coital incontinence can be part of both of these. Coital incontinence means when you are excited, when you are having intercourse, and then suddenly you leak urine. Many people do not realize it. They think that it is a normal phenomenon during normal lubrication, normal secretions during sexual activity, but it is not. Most of the times, it is a urinary leak which happens during, because the muscles contract that time and suddenly you leak. That is called coital incontinence. This is again, if you ask, go and ask women who are having urinary incontinence, is so common. The only thing that we are not asking in there, they're not telling us.
thank you so much for explaining that, Dr. Deeksha. I mean, I can see your passion behind your words. I can see your face light up when you talk about all this. So, there is a quintessential part of you which is a doctor, and there's a quintessential part of you which is a writer who wants to send the messages to the common janta. So, how do these two characters sit together? I mean, it's quite a juxtaposition, right? Like a doctor, someone who's serious, and then there are this other hand where, like you said, romantic fiction. I mean, medical fiction, but still romantic medical fiction. So, how do these two parts of you come together?
So basically, Ritu, if you ask me, I am an utterly romantic person. I have I have my bubble. I don't know what is happening in there, but I am a dreamy romantic person. All my thoughts, like romanticism is so much for everything that sometimes scares me. But I have my own world, and I'm a doctor. I have to be practical most of the times, but I am a truly romantic person. Like to the extent that sometimes it gets crazy. Okay, and the drive is actually, I believe in that sense that yes, all of us cannot be. People say that we can't be. Everybody cannot be Mother Teresa. We cannot fix all the problems in the world. But I still feel that we must do what we can do. So if through 20 years of experience and 10 years of education, if I have learned something, I should make some more lives better. And maybe if I do something, some two, three, four people might. I am not thinking that the whole world will read this book and get inspired and want to do something. But if few people can read it and can understand, they can percolate the information. If my students, if the fellow doctors also can understand and they are inspired to do them, then my day is done. But when you asked about, so I do many things I keep on doing, like most of the things are, I want to give back to society, which I have learned. So that's what you told about NGO. And today we had actually, in the morning session was the workshop for the same. And we did, I think, 66th workshop today of 3D. There also we try to teach children and about health and reproductive health related and its consequences, because nobody teaches them. Also, there are so many things that our society doesn't teach, but we need. So I think I can make it simple and teach. So there are different ventures I want to do. But specifically when it comes to writing, when I wrote my first novel, it was a retreat from. It was my, like, when I get too stressed, the work is stressful. We are dealing with life and death and childbirth and consequences, and so I wanted to. It was my stress buster, if you tell me. I started writing because I wanted to put my energy into some other direction, and then it kept on happening. Maybe the first or second chapter of Drenched, I just wrote for the sake of writing. But when I read it, I felt good. I thought, if I can, there is no use of writing and keeping it on my table or in my laptop. Maybe I can share it with the society and maybe can bring little change. So still now also it is, I'll say that primary thing for me, writing is my stress buster. I feel little relieved. I go into different world of romanticism. Here you are seeing too much pain and agony and stigma and shame. There I get to see a lot of dreams and romance and nice people. You will see a lot of romance and a lot of philosophies which keep on coming to my mind. So I just penned it down there. So that is, if you want one word, it is a stress buster for me.
Absolutely, and I can see that, right? I mean, throughout the book, Avantika meets different characters, and I can see the her arc or her journey from being an immature person with stars in her eyes to being kind of growing up to kind of getting into the bouts of depression. So I can see, and I think there's one character in the book who's also very philosophical and who helps her kind of make sense of her life
My favorite.
as a whole. Like the coach in me speaks to that character. It's like, hey, I know this character. I've met this character. I've seen this character. And I'm not going to give away the name because I want people to go and read the book and find out who I'm talking about and find out about Avantika's story, because I think it's very important for everyone to know. So, Dr. Deeksha, what is the one very exciting thing about being a writer? And I think I know your answer, but I'm going to still put that question to you. So, what's the one exciting thing about being a writer, and what's the one biggest obstacle that you face in writing?
Because I said that I don't do as a like job. I do it like for my relaxation. It's sort of hobby. So I would not say that time is a problem, because I believe, and I tell my students also, that if you want to do something, you will always have time. If you don't want to do something, you always have an excuse. So it is as simple as that. So I write usually when my family goes to sleep. Okay, maybe they are complaining about this, but I get my time in the night, and sometimes it has happened that I have gone to bed, and then some thought comes to my mind, and come back. I switch on the light and write that thing. It happens like this, and I'm not the person. I don't write together long things, and I'm not a trained person. So whatever comes to my mind, I just jot it down. So it is not, because it gives me relief to write something. So it happens.
And if you were to say what's the one most difficult thing about now that you've published 3 books, what's the one most difficult thing you would have identified, saying, okay, this happened, and then everything will be fine, or this is my biggest obstacle to writing?
Publication. Dipankar and Indrani had been so nice, so kind, and I have always struggled. See, I write till then I am very enthusiastic till I have made the book. After that, I cannot put my efforts to send it to various people, and like I can't do Ritu that exercise. I think either I have to employ somebody to do that, but it is very difficult for me. I cannot do that. So I really get frustrated. And actually, this book also I had written it got over 3 years ago. But this is my laziness. But somehow the stars aligned in a way that I found Dipankar and Indrani and Readomania. They have been so kind and so patient throughout this process. And I was, I think, very stubborn at times and like not keeping up with my deadlines. But I am really thankful to them. And I'm so happy that Readomania is not just a publishing house. See, I would never have interacted with you, such a wonderful person, if it would not have been Readomania. So all thanks to them. So my biggest hurdle, what's yours, Ritu, if I may ask?
I think it is finding the time to put. So I write in long bouts together.
Okay.
That's where we differ, because for me, if I am obsessed by something, I have to see it to the end. And for me, if it doesn't happen like that, then I get very frustrated and I stop writing. So I think for me, it's finding that one stretch of time. And unfortunately or fortunately, with COVID and with my son, like growing up the way he's growing up, it's been a struggle. But I'm still making an effort, still trying to find that sweet spot where I can get my work done. But I will remember your point only. If you don't find the time, it's an excuse. So I'm gonna remind myself of that and then just do it.
I know. I
Totally
strongly
agree.
do.
Yeah, totally agree with you about Readomania and Indrani and Dipankar. I mean, Indrani, I mean, I've personally had a chance to work with her as well, and my, I think she's the most sweetest and the most like nicest editor existing in the whole wide world, because I
Oh,
involved troubled her a lot, and then she's been so patient and so kind with me as well. So yeah,
So
totally agree.
sometimes they will give some suggestions, and I don't know. I rudely will say with lot of stubbornness, "No, I don't want to change it." And then they will agree to it. Say, "No, this character I cannot change it. It is. I have thought like this. There's something. Somebody like this might exist somewhere. I don't know where, but that is my imagination." So I.
Yeah.
But they were very patient, and they agreed to most of the things. Yeah. So finding Readomania was one, I think, was an amazing part of Fortunes, which I can say.
And I think even Readomania as a publishing house is also grateful, because it's also getting a chance to kind of work to its ethos, right? I mean, the I think the core value of a company like Readomania is to have variety in publications, right? And I think they take quite a lot of pride in that, because there's one completely different angle. There are non-fiction books, there are thrillers. I mean, and of late it's gone into like horror as well. And so I think it's one of the core ethos, the variety of Readomania. And I am sure even the Bankar and Indrani are very thankful that they had a chance to publish on something which is fiction but yet so important. And the thing that it deals with, the incontinence issue that it deals with, is also so important. So I'm sure they're also happy to be a part of this message that you want to send out to the world.
And I want to tell specifically to my students and all, many people, when they come into medical science, we deal with so much trauma, life, death. So everybody has their own bag full of stories, different kind of stories, what they have felt, how they have felt, all from different spectrum of health and disease. So many of them, I think they want to write something. Many of them, they have discussed with me also about the journey. Till now I said that it was till writing it's okay, but publication makes me a little flustered. But I think now, once I have found this after rights and wrong and so many problems, I have found out a spot. I suggest all of you, don't waste your time in any other publication house. Just come to Readomania and you will find a good solution and good audience for your story.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And so now that I know that your stories are also inspired a lot with your patients, but is there anything else that gives you inspiration? So what inspires your stories? I mean, where do you take your inspiration from?
I think, as I said, Ritu, I am a person who likes to remain in my own bubble. I have my own world around me. So the inspiration doesn't come too much from outside because I don't know what's happening in the world. Okay. So, but this is, I think our mind is a very strong potential and so many things it can tell you. So there are two kind of things, intelligence. People say that people consider them as smart and intelligent who have gathered lot of information from the outside world and they can tell you which country ka prime minister is who, and Bulgaria ko who's the prime minister, Czechoslovakia ka who's the president. If you ask me, I don't know all of these things. Okay. But I think if you sit calmly with yourself, your brain is such an amazing thing that it will give you amazing ideas, amazing creativity, and everything. Maybe much more information already is there in your head. Creative information. I'm not talking about that information which just changes now and then, which just makes the headlines once and goes away. Not that kind of, but so much philosophy is already inside our head. We just have to be patient, sit with ourselves, sit in silence for some time and think about it. So it's not that anything external gives me. All these are mind plays which keep on happening. So I think, and that's how what inspires me to write. And like so many philosophies I wanted, those were always in my mind. Little bit I have written about Japanese culture. Little bit I have written about colors. So this colors, so this thing was lot in my mind for a long time. But I wanted to put it somewhere. I don't deal with day-to-day people. I deal with students and with my patient. I cannot keep on telling them the philosophies of life. So I wanted to pen down it somewhere. And when I started writing, I thought I could write it like some very a little bit was there in my mind. But when I wrote, I thought that there is so much thing in colors. There is so much thing when a potter makes a pottery, a clay pottery is done. There's so much in Japanese culture which people need to know. So many essential parts. So much is there in transparency. So much is there when you talk to God. So all these little bit things were somewhere there. Maybe some experiences, something inside the head. But I think it's not much of information from the outside world and not much inspiration. It is just some plays of mind.
Absolutely. And that's such a beautiful topic that you discuss in the book briefly called Kintsugi, where we talk about filling the cracks with gold. So
Yes.
essentially, when things are broken, that doesn't mean that they are gone or they're destroyed. It just gives them a chance to make them beautiful. So
More
in
beautiful.
Hindi we call it, right, so आग में निकल के सोना बाहर आता है. So it's kind of a similar concept, but a different take on onto it.
So,
So
so,
go ahead, Dr. Deeksha.
so many times when I describe that pottery scene. So this was one answer to my son that he keeps on saying that why this is happening. Why when I was a child, when I was his age, I also thought why bad things. If God is so good, why bad things are happening to me? This will happen. This will happen. But this is just the testing time to make you more strong. So it is just burning you in the furnace so that you come out more strong, more beautiful. So these thoughts come to everybody's mind, and we have solution in our literature, in our stories, which our mothers, our grandmoms have been telling us. So I think that's what I tried to put a little bit philosophy is not in a very complicated way, a simple way, so that um,
Cool. So, Dr. Deeksha, before we're almost at the end. So, before we get into the question and answers, I would love it if you could just read a small passage from your book, one of your favorite
very
passages.
okay. So this is the book. There are many favorite passages. Actually, you told me, but I have not. Ritu, can I read it some other day because I have not marked it. There are so many things which I would love to read, but maybe we can do it some other time because I forgot to bookmark it. There are so many
Absolutely
things
not a
that
problem.
amaze me.
Yeah, not a problem at all. And
This was in my mind that it was in my to-do list that I have to mark it. But now, if I keep on searching, I'll be wasting everybody's time. So I'll do some sessions where I read some parts of the book.
absolutely. I think so. We open the floor to questions if anyone has any questions. One of the questions that I actually had, Dr. Deeksha, and of course I've been asking you a lot of questions, but it came from the conversation as well. That uh, how do you write a story arc of a character? So, like I said, right, because it was a very long arc for Avantika to traverse, even though it is kind of traveling, I think, 10 years of her life, but it is a long story arc. So, how do you imagine that arc, or write about that arc?
Ritu, actually, I might not be perfect because I'm not trained. Nobody has taught me how to write a story. It is just some imagination that this would have happened and would happen. I mean, sir, I'm not the best person to teach anybody how to write it, but the things keep on coming to my mind. What next? What next? What next? So, very simply, I have put it. I cannot put like I never. I would love to join a course which can refine my skills of doing that, but it has no scientific basis at all. Whatever came to my head, I just kept on writing and it became a story. That's it.
Amazing, and still, I mean, so beautifully. No one, I mean, it really completely looks like a proper arc. So I'm sure, even though consciously there is no effort to write a story arc, I'm sure there's that mind thing that you said, right, when you just calm down and think, that is helping you in some way to write such a beautiful story. And like Sutapadi, she's a very famous author and fabulous author who won a lot of accolades for her book Genghis Khan. She's also saying that training does not make a great author. So, um, one question we have from Anupama, called as Why Drenched? AJ, if you look at the interview, we've discussed the drenched bit in the beginning, but quickly, Dr. Deeksha, if you have like a small
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, basically, it talks about urinary incontinence, which is relatable to a lady being drenched with something. So, that is the main idea. But as I said before, also, drenched feels to me a very powerful adjective and a very powerful word. If I have to say that I'm in love, it is just an expression. When I say it is, I'm drenched in love, that means I'm emotionally at the zenith of something, at the peak of something which is just uncomparable, unmatched. So when I say I'm drenched in sadness or I'm drenched in shame, I don't think there is any other powerful word which I know, which can go beyond this word. So I love this word, and this is why the name drenched was chosen for the book. And it happened much before I wrote the first word about the book. I knew what context I will be talking about in the book, and drench title was decided much before I started writing the first word.
Beautiful. And Ananya Jha, she says, "You inspire us all, ma'am. There is so much to learn from you." Deepti Di, again, a erudite writer herself, amazing thrillers she writes, and she's the most sweetest looking person, and she writes like scary thrillers. So she's asking, what is the next book you have in mind?
So next book, if you want to know, I want to write. Actually, that also title is decided. The story in my mind. So I think I want to write. I don't know if I should keep it as a suspense and tell, but I want to write a story. The title is going to be Mismatched. Misplaced, sorry, not mismatched, it is misplaced. So I want to write about ectopic pregnancy. So in my first book, I wrote about cervical cancer and HPV. In my second book, I wrote about stem cells, which all people are getting wrong information about. Third book was stress incontinence, and one book which is in my mind, I want to write it about ectopic pregnancy, and the title is going to be Misplaced. And that will be mostly a story if because you asked me, I never expected this question. Till now I have never discussed this idea with anybody, but that is going to be a girl who is from this generation, the millennial generation,
Gen
but who
Z.
thinks Gen Z, but who thinks like us, maybe one older
Millennial.
generation. She
the millennials and baby boomers.
so this is misplaced, a double meaning of misplaced. Generation wise, she has those. She respects those old values, loves those old romantic love, and not like their one night stands kind of thing. Who is that kind of girl, not fitting well in this generation, and who gets an ectopic pregnancy, which is again a pregnancy which is not in its normal position, which is misplaced in the tube. So there, this is the revelation which I have consciously not done to myself also till now, because Dr. Deepti.
I'm glad to be part of that revelation, and I'm glad that it became I helped you gain that clarity. Like in coaching, we say I'm glad that we helped you gain clarity. So I'm glad that this conversation has helped you even a little bit to be clear on what it is the story is all about. And Sutapadi again says finding the power of words to express your special creativity can only come from deep inside you. So like you said, right, just calming your mind and just being in the space, and that gives you so many ideas. And Sunita Pant Bansal says that she's personally gone through ectopic pregnancy. So really sorry, Sunita, to hear that. And I'm sure then you will resonate with Dr. Deeksha's next book, which is on ectopic pregnancy. And feel free to do reach out to her or me if you want to discuss talk. I've not gone through ectopic pregnancy personally, but I've had a massive struggle with pregnancy in general. So I also can share some bit of empathy and sympathize with you. So, Dr. Deeksha, we're almost at the end of our session today. Before we let you go, do you have anything else that you want to share or say to our listeners today?
So only one maybe. I want those to read my book and let me know if something you liked or something you did not like. Maybe I'll improve in that journey with this. And yeah, I think that's what I want you to read the book at least once. And maybe those people who you feel who have told you about, so it discusses about the causes in a very story form. It is not like a science literature. In a story form, what can be the causes, what can be the prevention, what can be the treatment. And treatment is available. It's so simple actually. It's just in ROT, it's just I tell my patient, this 10-minute job for me. Means for anybody, just it's such a simple management. You are out of the hospital in one day's time. Many people do it as outpatient procedure abroad. So that's if we can percolate this information, if we can tell, if we can make some two more women, like you said, Ritu, in the beginning, each one teach one. If that we can follow here, I think we can make a little change in women's health. And that's what my motive has have been always, had been always. So if you can help, or if you uh, understand, if you synchronize, or if you have the same feeling like this, that we should help women, then please motivate them to read. Or if you can, if you have read, if you want to give them some information, maybe you can share it with them.
Sure. And Readomania says, thank you for joining us for the session. Wrench is available on Amazon. You may buy a copy and explore. And if you want to reach Dr. Deeksha, she runs a YouTube channel on different urogynecology issues. So you can reach her out at her YouTube channel. Dr. Deeksha, what's the...
I'm not on any other social media. I'm not on Facebook, Insta, or anywhere else. But yes, I'm really very religiously. I'm there on our channel. It is called Urogynecology for Beginners. If you just type Dr. Deeksha Pandey, you might find me there. We have already 170 plus, I think 176 176 videos already there, and we are soon going to start a series for patient information, because till now we train the doctors and talk about cases and different kind of topics related to urogynecology. But we felt that even patient wanted to know the answer. So maybe that time the knowledge, the wording or the terms we are using are a little difficult for a layperson to understand. So with that idea, we are going to very soon start in that channel only one series, information for patients in various topics. So you can post if you want to know something about any particular topic, you just let us know. We'll do a discussion kind of simple words discussion kind of session for them.
Absolutely. So, with that, unfortunately, all good things come to end. So, thank you so much, Dr. Deeksha. All the
Thank
best
you.
for your book. Just if you could pick the book and show people like up close in camera, saying that this is the book, people. Drenched by Dr. Deeksha Pandey. Do pick it up. I have read it. It's absolutely wonderful book. It has very unusual topics married in together, romance and urinary incontinence, and it's a wonderful journey of a girl next door, right from the beginning, where she achieves her dreams and then what happens to her. So please do pick the book. Like Readomania says, it's available on Amazon, and any other information can be found on Readomania's social channels. That's I am Readomania at Instagram, I am Readomania in Twitter, and Readomania at Facebook. So all the information is there. Please do pick it up, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Deeksha. It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you, Ritu. It was equally wonderful for me to have discussed all this with you. You were a lovely. It was a lovely conversation. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. So
The
much.
pleasure is all
And
mine.
you have to, next time you are coming to Mangalore. You cannot miss coming to Manipal. We'll come and pick.
Definitely, Dr. Deeksha. Definitely.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, sorry. All my dear listeners, I'm so sorry to say thank you. Thank you. I totally forgot. Thank you so much for being there, supporting us. Sunita, Sutapadi, Deepti, AJ, Suvrati, everybody who I've missed. My father is also around somewhere. So, everybody, please, thank you so much for joining us and commenting. Please do pick up the book. Please read it and have a wonderful day, everyone.
One message. Maybe we made it like it looked like that it is all about girls, girls, girls. Only girls should pick it up. But if boys are around, there are some. But boys must know what girls want, what girls really appreciate in you. So it might be a key to a girl's heart. So this is what we believe in. This is what we like. So please give it a read. You'll get many tips from there.
Absolutely, definitely. It's for everybody. It's not gender specific. It deals with a gender issue, but it's not gender specific. There is Dheera who's saying enjoying the conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Deeksha. With this, finally,